The splitting of water is always associated with photosystem 2, means splitting of water will not take place in photosystem 1. For any molecule to move from higher concentration to lower concentration, it does not require any energy. The light harvesting complex is of two types depending on the wavelength of light it absorbs. Photosystem 1 cannot generate its own electrons, it receives the electrons that is generated in the photosystem 2. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to another session on chapter 13, that is photosynthesis in higher plants. I'm Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysore, Temple of Excellence. So in the previous session, we had discussed about the different types of chlorophyll pigments that take part in the photosynthesis. And before that, we had discussed about the structure of the chloroplast, wherein we came to know about the thylakoids or the grana, which are stacked one above the other, wherein the light reaction actually occurs. So we understood that light reaction takes place in the grana of the chloroplast, and the dark reaction occurs in the stroma, which is the matrix of the chloroplast. And we came to know about the chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, the xanthophyll and the carotenoid pigments. And also we understood what each pigment plays a role in the photosynthesis through the absorption spectrograph. In today's session, we shall deal with different types of cycles or mechanisms that occurs during the process of photosynthesis. So we shall talk about the electron transport, and we shall talk about the cyclic and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, and we shall also talk about how ATPs are synthesized, that is in the thylakoid or the grana of the plant cell. So there is a particular cycle which is called as chemiosmosis, which tells us how exactly the ATP is synthesized. So all that we will study in today's session. So to begin with, we shall first understand what electron transport is. So if you remember, in the previous session, I had talked about the splitting up of water, right? So here, what happens here in this case is that the electron transport, wherein here you can see I have drawn a non-cyclic photophosphorylation. The diagram depicts a non-cyclic photophosphorylation, which is also called as the Z scheme. Why is it called the Z scheme? Because when you look at it, it looks like the letter Z of the English alphabet, right? So that is why it is called as the Z scheme. And here you can see they have marked as electron acceptor, electron transport system, means throughout here electrons will be transported. So these electrons, they get transported in this particular cyclic as well as non-cyclic photophosphorylation, which is nothing but the electron transport. Why? Because the electrons are needed for the cycle of photosynthesis to occur. So therefore here, that is why to just this diagram has nothing to do with the electron transport, just to make you understand how the electron gets transported, I've put this diagram. So here what happens here is, so from where does this electron actually comes? Say for example, we know about the splitting of water or the photolysis of water. So photo means light, lysis is splitting. Here by using the light energy, the water gets splits, right? It will be broken down. So if here you can see the water gets broken down into two electrons, it gets broken down into two electrons and two molecules of hydrogen, that is H plus, and one molecule of the oxygen. So here these electrons are the ones which will be utilized again. So therefore throughout this process of photosynthesis, the electrons will get transported through the cyclic and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So this was about the electron transport. So now we'll move on to how electron transport actually, or the electrons are got to the non-cyclic and the cyclic photophosphorylation. It is, as I told you, it is by the splitting up of water. So here the electrons that will be moved through the photosystem 2. So the photosystem 2 makes use of the light energy and it will generate electrons which will get excited and it will move from the region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So the electrons that were moved from photosystem 2, they must be replaced, right? Because it has to, again what should happen, again the green plants, after one round of photophosphorylation is over, again the green plants need to go through this cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation, right? If that has to take place, once the electrons that have moved out of the photosystem, they should again fill into the photosystem so that again it can continue its progress, right? Or process. So here, how will the electrons that were moved from the photosystem to be replaced? It has to be replaced, right? How will it be replaced? It is actually replaced by a process which is nothing but the splitting of water, or it is also called as the photolysis of water. Here, the splitting of water is always associated with photosystem 2. Means splitting of water will not take place in photosystem 1. So you might wonder, how will the photosystem 1 receive electrons? Because they also need electrons, right? So from where will they receive electrons? So they receive electrons from the photosystem 2. So whatever splitting of water occurs in the photosystem 2 generating electrons will be carried from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1. So that is how they receive it. So therefore, splitting of water is related only to photosystem 2 and it will not occur in photosystem 1. And here the water is split into a pair of protons, then it is split into oxygen and it is split into electrons. This is where they get. So this creates oxygen, which is one of the important products of photosynthesis. Now, if you remember the equation, photosynthesis, last class, what does the equation say? 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 12 molecules of water in the presence of light forms C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O, right? So here 6 molecules of oxygen. Very simply, in a simple way, I had written this equation in the previous sessions. But imagine here, if this oxygen has to attain, then splitting up of this water has to take place. So when this water is splitted, you know that water is one of the raw material for photosynthesis, right? So when this water is splitted, what happens? The water gets splitted to form 2 molecules of proton, that is H plus, or a pair of proton, that is H plus, and it forms oxygen and also it forms electrons. So this is how oxygen is created during the process of photosynthesis. So carbon dioxide will be utilized, water will be utilized, and also I told you how oxygen is generated from the water and not from the carbon dioxide. If you remember, it was Engelmann's experiment, like wherein he used the green and the purple bacteria. So there I had explained to you about it in the previous session. So based on that itself, now we are able to say that oxygen is got from water. So water splits and it releases the oxygen, forming the electrons and the protons as well. And the electrons that are needed to replace those electrons which were removed from the photosystem 2, they have to get replaced back in the photosystem 2, right? So they are the ones that they will be replaced in photosystem 2 by the splitting up of water. So photolysis is a non-cyclic reaction. At one end, the reaction will end. Why the reaction will end is the electron will move out of the photosystem 1. So when electron has moved out of the photosystem 1, there will be no electrons to go back to the photosystem 2, right? So that is when the splitting up of the water has to occur there. So this is how electrons are generated. So now we know about the electron transport, we know about the splitting of water. So it will be easy to understand the cyclic photophosphorylation and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Here cyclic photophosphorylation, why is it called? Why? Because it continues. The electron again moves, again the process continues. Here it is a continuous process. So cyclic photophosphorylation. Both are light reaction, be it the cyclic photophosphorylation or the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, both are light dependent reaction, and therefore if you remember, light dependent reaction occurs on, or the light reaction of photosynthesis takes place in the grana of the chloroplast, which is nothing but the thylakoid, right? So here what happens, there is chlorophyll P700. So chlorophyll P700. So if you remember, we had discussed about the light reaction in very little detail. So as you can see here, chlorophyll P700, chlorophyll is a pigment. Where is the pigment present? It is present in the chloroplast. So in chloroplast, there are different types of chlorophyll pigments. And one particular chlorophyll pigment, one particular chlorophyll pigment, that is chlorophyll A, it actually absorbs light at a wavelength of P700. That is why here the complex that is there. So what is that? Light harvesting complex. So the light harvesting complex here is made up of chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll, which is chlorophyll A, especially it is chlorophyll A, that chlorophyll A actually has the ability to absorb a light wavelength which is equal to the wavelength of light of 700 nanometer. That is again red light. And remember, red and blue lights are the one that actually increases the rate of photosynthesis, therefore liberating large amount of oxygen. So red light is very, very important for the plants. If you remember Neal's experiment, you can understand that. So chlorophyll P700, which is the photosystem here, or it is the light harvesting complex. So when light falls on the photosystem 1, so this is photosystem 1, which is having the light harvesting complex P700. So it will absorb, it will trap the light energy, and what it will do here? So here there is no photolysis of water, or splitting of water is not there, if you remember. So there is no splitting of water, will not occur in photosystem 1, right? So now, how will the photosystem 1 get the electrons? Can you see here? Here also there is electron acceptors, means the electrons will be carried like this. It will be carried, and it will be given back, right? So how here, from where did they get electron? So electron was got from photosystem 2. In photosystem 2, the photolysis or the splitting of water occurred, wherein the electrons were got, and then those electrons were carried to the photosystem 1. So therefore, photosystem 1 always functions along with the photosystem 2. When it functions along with the photosystem 2, photosystem 1 and 2, it becomes a Z scheme, or it becomes a non-cyclic photophosphorylation, and photosystem 1 alone will be a cyclic photophosphorylation if you take only this as consideration. So here electrons are got, and if you see, these electrons are rich here now, because all the electrons from the photosystem 2 are moving towards the photosystem 1. It is rich in electron. Now the electrons are moving from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. If you remember, transport in plants. So in that chapter, we have studied about diffusion, right? So what does diffusion state? It is the movement of molecules from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. Therefore, it is a passive transport. Why? Because for any molecule to move from higher concentration to lower concentration, it does not require any energy. So therefore, here energy is not required. So all the energy will be kept as such. It is not needed. So energy will not be required. Here the electrons that have been received by this photosystem 1, it will get excited. Excited means it will move up. It will get excited, and here there is one electron acceptor. It is a complex, okay. So this electron acceptor will accept the electron, and it will transport the electron through various carriers. So there are various electron transport system here, such as, I'll just write down. So here they have ferredoxin, then they have plastoquinone, then cytochrome complex, Then comes plastocyanin. So all this are nothing but the electron transport. Through all these, the electrons will, so that is nothing but forms the electron transport system. So all these, that is ferredoxin, plastoquinone, cytochrome complex, then the plastocyanin, all these will allow the transport of electrons, and finally the electrons will be given back to the PS1 system or this particular light harvesting complex, and the cycle will continue. So this is about cyclic photophosphorylation. Here, so during this process, what happens? Here phosphorylation is occurring. So what is phosphorylation? So I'll make you understand here. Photophosphorylation. Is photo involved? Of course, yes, right. Photo is involved here. What? Light is involved. So here, light is being utilized to generate energy or for phosphorylation. What is phosphorylation? Addition of phosphate group. So here if you see, here inorganic phosphate is added. So there is adenosine diphosphate. So to this adenosine diphosphate, one inorganic phosphate is added and it gets converted into adenosine triphosphate, and ATPs are required everywhere throughout the photosynthesis process because that is the one that actually is an energy source. So here, from where did it get the energy to combine with adenosine for the combination of adenosine diphosphate with inorganic phosphate to form adenosine triphosphate? It is from the energy that was saved. So, if you remember here, what did I tell you? The electrons are concentrated in this region. It is more. So, therefore, for the movement of electrons from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, energy is not needed. It is a passive transport, right? So, if it is a passive transport, the energy that will be there will be liberated out. It will be given out. How will it be given out? In the form of adenosine triphosphate. So, how? Here diphosphate means it is having two molecules of phosphate. So, adenine or adenosine diphosphate combines with one inorganic phosphate. So, what happens? Two phosphates combines with one phosphate. It will become 3-phosphate. Therefore, adenosine triphosphate is generated. So, that is how actually the energy is being released in the form of adenosine triphosphate. So this particular step, it actually looks very simple here, but it is a complex process that you will learn in chem osmosis. So we shall study about that in the coming slide. So this is about the cyclic photophosphorylation. Here, using the light energy, phosphate groups are being added, wherein one inorganic phosphate mixes with or combines with adenosine diphosphate to form adenosine triphosphate. So this is about one mechanism, that is photosystem 1, which makes use of the P700 light harvesting complex. So next, talking about the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So here again you can see there is one light harvesting complex. So always remember, photosystem 2 occurs first. Why photosystem 2 occurs first? It is because the electrons are given by the photosystem 2, which is then accepted by the photosystem 1. Otherwise, photosystem 1, if it has to occur first, it will not have any electrons because their photolysis of water will also not take place in the photosystem 1, right? So, therefore, it always depends on the electrons that are given by the photosystem 2. So, now you can ask me the question, they could have named this as photosystem 1 because it is occurring first, and then this one is photosystem 2. Why have they named in a confusing manner? It has nothing to do with the naming. The name given is actually based on when it was discovered by the scientists. So scientists actually discovered photosystem 1 first. That is why they gave the name as photosystem 1. And later on they discovered this particular photosystem 2. So that is why they gave it as photosystem 2. But actually first photosystem 2 will occur and then it will enter into the photosystem 1. So that is the reason behind it. So now you can see that in the photosystem 2 there is presence of light harvesting complex. So light harvesting complex is of two types depending on the wavelength of light it absorbs, right? So if it absorbs a wavelength of 680 nanometer, it comes under photosystem 2, which is again red light only. And if it absorbs a wavelength of 700 nanometer, it comes under photosystem 1, which is again a red light itself. So here it is, the complex is made up of P680. It is made up of P680. So P680, it absorbs a light having a wavelength which is equal to 680 nanometer, and it gives away the electrons. It gives away the electrons. So these electron acceptors will accept the electron, and then what happens? Here it transports the electron to the electron that is the electron transport system. So here I am talking about photosystem 2 first. So in photosystem 2, what are the electron transport system? We shall see. It is, I'll just write it here. First, plastoquinone. So in photosystem 1, it was first ferredoxin, then plastoquinone, then cytochrome, and then plastocyanin. Here it is different. Ferredoxin is not involved. It directly starts with plastoquinone. Then comes cytochrome complex. And after cytochrome complex comes plastocyanin. So after cytochrome complex comes plastocyanin. So here and all they will help in the electron transport. So exact function of plastocyanin you will know in chemiosmosis. So now you can understand it comes from, it will transport the electron. So through all these same thing, it will be here in this particular place. It will transport the electron. Now here again the electron concentration is more here, right? So those electrons which are more here, they will get excited and it will be accepted by the electron acceptor. So in the electron acceptor, first the electrons are less because there was no electron. Only when the electron is given from this particular light harvesting complex, then only they will receive the electron, right? So therefore, the electrons are moving from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, right? Towards lower concentration it is moving. So which is the lower concentration region now? It is the photosystem 2. It is moving towards the lower concentration. So therefore here again what happens? Energy use is not there. So therefore the energy will be released. So how will the energy be released? Wherein again here in this particular process, adenosine diphosphate combines with one inorganic phosphate to form adenosine triphosphate. Now here electrons are traveling. The electron will travel to the photosystem 1. So from photosystem 2, electron move to photosystem 1, and again from here it will move to the electron acceptor and the electrons will be released here. Say for example, if this electron had moved again back, it would become a cyclic photophosphorylation. But here what happens? As soon as it enters into the photosystem 1, the electron will released. At that time, here also the energy that will be released, because here also from the region of higher concentration, it is moving towards region of lower concentration. Therefore, energy is not needed. Energy will be released. So, at that time, NAD plus will get converted into NADPH. So this NADPH is nicotinamide dinucleotide phosphate. So nicotinamide dinucleotide phosphate. So NADP plus gets converted into NADPH. So this conversion also is nothing but, we'll study about this in chem osmosis, how it will occur. So this is about the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So when we look at this, we easily think that what is it? It is very simple. One arrow mark I have depicted here, ADP along with inorganic phosphate, it got converted into ATP. But actually how this process takes place. So always remember all these, be it the cyclic phosphorylation or the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, all of these occurs inside the chloroplast and especially in the gran of the chloroplast. So therefore, in the gran of the chloroplast itself, process called as chem osmosis will occur, wherein the conversion of ADPs to ATP and the conversion of NADP plus to NADPH, all of these will occur. So we shall see about the chem osmotic hypothesis. So we shall see here how exactly ATP gets synthesized. So far, while studying about the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, we came to know that ATP combines with the energy that is there will be released in the form of ATPs, wherein ADP combines with one inorganic phosphate to form ATP, right? So how exactly it takes place? So first, before talking about this, we shall understand the structure of the chloroplast. So the structure of the chloroplast, if you remember, the chloroplast is covered by two membranes, that is the outer membrane and the inner membrane, and inside to the chloroplast is present a matrix called as the stroma, and inner to the matrix is present the coin-like structures which are nothing but called as the grana or thylakoid. Grana or thylakoid. So the same thing, it is shown here. So this is the thylakoid. So where is the thylakoid present? In the stroma of the chloroplast. So can you see here, all these is the stroma of the chloroplast. So this is the chloroplast, whole thing, it is the chloroplast, and inside the chloroplast is present the stroma. So the stroma, it is filled with stroma, and in the stroma is present the thylakoid. So one thylakoid or grana we have taken into consideration here. So here, if you see that the thylakoid, it is covered by an outer membrane and a inner membrane. So in the outer membrane, there is an enzyme that is NADP reductase. So in the outer membrane is present an enzyme called as NADP reductase. So what is the function of that NADP reductase? I'll just write it here, NADP reductase. It is an enzyme which is present on the outer membrane. Say for example, somewhere here outer membrane, that enzyme is present. So the function of the NADP reductase is to convert NADP plus into NADPH, right? So for that, protons and all are needed. We'll come to know later how it works. So now we can understand that in the outer membrane is present the NADP reductase enzyme. And in the inner membrane is present a complex which actually helps in the photolysis of water. So as you can see, water photolysis, there is one complex that is present, complex in the inner membrane, complex for photolysis of water. Photolysis of water, because photolysis of water is very important for the pH2 to gain the electrons, right? We know about that. So much we are aware of. So thylakoid membrane, outer thylakoid membrane, inner thylakoid membrane. In the outer thylakoid membrane, there is a complex which secretes the enzyme called as NADP reductase, which is needed for the production of the NADPH, and towards the inside in the inner membrane is present a complex which helps in the photolysis of water, which is needed to gain electrons by the photosystem 2. So much we know now. So now we know there is the photosystem 2 and the photosystem 1, that is the cyclic phosphorylation and the non-cyclic phosphorylation occurring. So here you can see the reaction centers that are there, photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. So the reaction actually starts with the photosystem 2 and then it ends in the photosystem 1. So here what happens? Light that is photons, will be absorbed by the chlorophyll pigments, which are having a complex, that is light harvesting complex, called as photosystem P680, which is nothing but photosystem 2. It is photosystem P680 or photon 680 because it can absorb the light of a wavelength of 680 nanometer. And from here what happens? During that process, electrons are needed. Therefore, the splitting up of water will take place. So, for the splitting up of water, what will happen? The hydrogen will just split up and it will gain the electrons. That electrons will travel through the transport system. So, first, where will it travel? It travels through plastoquinone. And then the electrons get excited to cytochrome B6 complex. And from the cytochrome B6 complex, it gets excited to plastocyanin. And plastocyanin is the one which delivers the electron to the photosystem 1. So, therefore, it is understood the electron that is got by the photosystem 1 cannot generate its own electrons. It receives the electrons that is generated in the photosystem 2. So now here the electrons are traveling from a region of higher concentration towards a region of lower concentration. So when this is actually happening, a lot of energy is being released. And not just that, when energy is being released and when the electron is being transported here and when a lot of energy is also being released, what happens? For the purpose of transporting electrons, the cytochrome complex that is there here, it actually receives a pair of proton. So where was that pair of proton present? It was present in the stroma. So from the stroma, it receives a pair of proton. That proton, it will be moved on into the lumen. So therefore what happens? Now the stroma, the concentration of proton in the stroma will become less. The concentration of proton in the lumen will become more. So here what this happens is when the electron is passing through cytochrome B6F complex, this cytochrome B6F, it actually releases a lot of energy and in turn it starts accepting protons from the stroma. So that protons will be accepted and the energy will supply or it will push the protons towards the lumen here. So therefore the concentration of protons in the stroma will decrease and the concentration of protons in the lumen will become high. So that is what actually happens here. So now here, and not just that, why the concentration will increase is because pair of proton is got from the stroma, one more is got during the splitting up of water. If you remember, when water is splitted, what happens? When H2O splits, it will give rise to electrons and it will give rise to H plus ions and oxygen, right? So H plus ions are also there, that also will be in the lumen. So therefore the concentration of protons in the lumen will increase and in the stroma it will become less. So now these protons will be carried to a particular enzyme that is present. There is one more enzyme that is present on the membrane of that is outer membrane of the thylakoid, which is called as the ATP synthase. So these protons will have to move back to the stroma, right? So it is moving again from higher concentration to lower concentration, that is to the stroma. Why is it moving back to the stroma? Because again the electrons have to be accepted here, because only when this process is occurring will the ATP synthesis occur. So it has to move back to the stroma. So when it has to move back to the stroma, what happens? The pair of electron that is there, it cannot move as such. It needs the help of a carrier protein. Here facilitated diffusion will occur. So what is diffusion? It is the movement of molecules from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. What is facilitated diffusion? Facilitated diffusion means here something should help the movement of a molecule from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. So that facilitator protein here is called as the cytochrome F0 protein or the complex. So these cytochrome F0 actually will help in carrying the electron towards the outer membrane of the thylakoid, wherein this particular CF1 complex, which is nothing but the ATP synthetase enzyme, it will actually convert the adenosine diphosphate and it will combine with one inorganic phosphate to form ATP. So that is how the generation of ATP will take place and the proton will come out, and this proton will again go back to the stroma. Again, the concentration of proton in the stroma will become high and the concentration of proton in the lumen will reduce. Again, what will happen? This H plus ions will be, that is the protons, pair of protons will be again moved back into the lumen. Therefore, the protons which will get accumulated in the lumen and also the protons which are given by the photolysis of water, splitting of water, all that will get accumulated. Again in the lumen it will become high and again it will move out through a carrier protein. So that is how the cycle continues here. So this is how during this process the production of the ATPs and the NADPs will take place. So here if you can see, here again the NADP plus, one more thing is these H plus, one of the H plus ions that is present in the stroma will be utilized for the formation. It will combine with NADP plus to form NADP H. So this is also one of the important component that is formed. So now I told you it makes use of a proton. So from where will this proton come? So if you remember, the proton had passed back to the stroma, right? That proton will be utilized here. So it will be utilized here. So therefore, what happens? NADP plus will combine with one molecule of proton. It will combine with a proton and it will form NADPH. So that is how the cycle will continue. So again here, protons will be there. So again, the process will again continue as such. So this is how the chemosmosis will actually take place. So I hope you understood this particular session wherein we discussed about that is light reaction, wherein we discussed about how the non-cyclic photophosphorylation will occur, which is also called as the Z scheme, and how the cyclic photophosphorylation will take place and how the ATPs and the NADPs will get produced and how protons will be supplied for the formation of the ATPs and the NADPs. All that we have studied it in chem osmotic hypothesis. So I hope you understood the session very well. So in the next coming session, we shall discuss about the dark reaction that occurs in the photosynthesis. So we shall meet again in the coming session. Thank you.